It says, if you cannot be a pine on top of the hill, then just be a shrub in the valley. It says, if you cannot be the tree, then just be a bush. It says, if you cannot be the highway, just be a trail. It says, if you cannot be the sun, then just be a star. For it isn't by size that we win or we fail. For it isn't by size that we win or we fail, but be the best at whatever you are. You say, we started this with that saying that says, but if you cannot fly, then you must run. If you cannot run, then you must walk. If you cannot walk, then you must crawl. But by all means, he said what?
Keep moving.
You can do better than that this morning. I said, but by all means,
Keep moving.
So everybody in this room stand up. We're going to start this beautiful day. You see, they say your ears can only endure what your butt can endure. And I'll give you a quick story. Everybody knows who Abraham Lincoln is in this room, correct? Everybody is familiar with the Gettysburg Address, correct? Did you know that at the Gettysburg Address, there was a man that was called Edward Everett. Everett spoke for 2 hours. Does anybody remember anything from Edward Everett? No, I didn't think so. Abraham Lincoln spoke for 2 minutes right after Mr. Everett left. And everybody remembers the message. It's not the length of the message, but the content of the message. So we're going to embody this message today. My name is Damola. I am going to be your speaker today. But before I speak, I know there's something about blood flow. You know when you sit down and you relax, as long as you don't bring no popcorn, I'm about to fall asleep. Ain't nobody falling asleep on my watch today. So we're gonna move everybody go right this way and left this way. Oh, they can move, they ready. Oh, they can go left and right. That's all I need. Forget about the hands and everything else. You don't have to worry about that. But right now, what I want you to say is with some energy. They say energy like water seeks its own level. So we're going to rise together today. With energy, you are going to say, be the best at whatever you are. Let's go.
Be the best at whatever you are.
Oh, that was pretty neat, Mike. But we're going to say with some energy now.
Be the best at whatever you are.
Now we're going to say it a little faster. Be the best at whatever you are.
Be the best at whatever you are.
It isn't by size that you win or fail. All right, so you got to do a little faster than that. Because I want to go, it isn't by size that you win or fail. Be the best at whatever you are. It isn't by size that you win or fail.
Be the best at whatever you are.
It isn't by size that you win or fail. It isn't by size that you win or fail. I said it isn't by size that you win or fail. It isn't by size that you win or fail. Be the best at whatever you are. I said be the best at whatever you are. Be the best at whatever you are. You can be seated. Give it up for yourselves today. That's the way to get it started, guys. I want to thank you guys for having me here. My name is Damola Akinyemi. I am a fitness expert, a professional bodybuilder in the natural bodybuilding field. I am also a new farmer. I started farming about 12, 13 months ago, and farming is life. It is a hard occupation. and I'm excited to be here today. I want to thank all the organizations that made this happen today. Sullivan 180, Sullivan Renaissance, the Hurleyville Performing Arts Center, Sullivan Alliance for Leading Together, SALT, and Sullivan Workforce Development, the Human Rights Commission, as our first speaker had introduced us, Sullivan, the Human Rights Commission, and Cornell Cooperative Extension have been instrumental in bringing this to. Give it up for our sponsors today. I want to personally thank the woman that picked me out to be a speaker today. I'm not sure she knew what she was doing, but I'm excited to be here anyhow. She has been very instrumental in this county in so many ways. We worked together at the Old Orange Regional Hospital. She was the head of community development, and we did a lot of things from the Hercules to the Warrior Kids. And she invited me to be here today because of her exceptional passion for the youth of this community. She's dragged me to so many things on behalf of this community. I'm not from Sullivan County, but every time she has a thought in the middle of her head, in the middle of the night, she will call me like, we have to do something for this county. And so because of her passion that continues to spill over into the development and the future of this amazing community, please give it up for Amanda Lang Sender. Today I'm really excited because obviously, as you guys know, this was slated for January 17th, which was Martin Luther King's Day, and it was postponed to March 18th, which is today. But more than anything else, we have to understand that Reverend Dr. King's message is a message for every day. It's not a message that sits and lives within the sphere of one day. There's really no way you could do such justice to such a man that lived such a powerful life. And so the best that we could do is give it one day, and then today we are finally meeting. But I want to paint a picture of what it looked like on October 26, 1967. In Philadelphia, at the Barrett Junior High School. You see, on that beautiful, fateful day, there was, first thing, I want to first ask, how many of you have watched the full speech? Put your hands up if you've watched the full speech. Okay, a few of us. And all of us saw a short edited version of that speech today. But on that fateful day, Reverend King was slated to be performing at the Spectrum Theater. You see, at the Spectrum Theater, there were some mega stars. And Dr. King at the time was not quite MLK yet. He was Reverend Dr. King. He was a hero to black people. 92% approval rating amongst black people. But to the system of the day, he had a 21.2 approval rating at the time. He was known as an agitator. Oh, he wasn't quite the let's burn it down. He was peaceful, but he was still an agitator. He was a civil rights icon, a hero, like I said. But he hadn't been cemented in a space and place in history like we have today. For example, if I asked you, how many of you know Jay-Z and Beyonce? Put your hands up. See what I'm saying? So now let me ask you a question. How many of you know who Harry Belafonte? How many of you know who Nipsey Russell? How many of you know who Aretha Franklin? Oh, a lot more Aretha, huh? How many of you, so either we are seeing what your musical taste are, or we can tell your age. But either way, those guys were the icons of the day. And Dr. King was going to speak at this amazing Spectrum Theater that had just been built. It was a civil rights movement. It was a part of the fight for equality back then. We couldn't sit down like this in a room with black and white and Spanish and everybody together. They were still fighting for what we are living through today. And so he took a quick detour, as such a great man will do. You have a crowd of 20, 30, 40, 50,000 people waiting for you. But you take time out. It might not have been a long time to stop at a junior high school. You have a stadium waiting for you, packed full of people. It shows you what kind of man he was. He took the time out for this junior high school, an enthusiastic group, that the message is still resounding today. You see, when we talk about a blueprint, what I see about the blueprint that he said, my assignment today is to break down the blueprint. Number one, a deep belief in your value, in your worth. And the word that he used was somebodyness, as only a man the stature of Dr. King could coin. There's no word like that, by the way. But when we say somebodyness, it embodies a word and multiple words to give you a feeling. What is this feeling of somebodyness? Secondly, a determination to achieve excellence. And thirdly, a commitment to the eternal principles. A commitment to the eternal principles of beauty, of love, justice. And I'm going to add mercy to the last one, and I will piece it together in my closing. You see, we're going to start with the first one. But when Dr. King talked about the doors of opportunity being open in the 60s and the 70s, those doors, the world has changed a lot since then. There's a lot of evolution that has gone behind the change that we see. But I assure you, the message of having a blueprint is just as important, if not more important, today than it was back in the 60s and the 70s. You see, back in the days, Dr. King was addressing an African American crowd. Mostly. Oh, there was white people in the crowd on that day. There was a lot of white people that fought for what we have today, not just the black people. Go read about John Brown, you find out more. But people like Dr. King were at the forefront of what we enjoy today. And so he was speaking to mostly a African American community. And it was mostly about the socioeconomic development and mobility up the ladder that he was speaking about back in the 60s and 70s. So when you read or when you watch the speech, you see references to not using oils to try turn lighter or make your hair straighter, and all those references. It was because he was addressing a mostly African American crowd. But the reason why I truly believe more than ever that today that message of having a blueprint is actually more important and poignant today than it was then is because it's no longer addressing just African Americans. Now, it's addressed to every single person in this room. Oh, they told you it was about young people. But I assure you, if the older people keep their ears open, they might learn something too. More than ever, it's important to have a blueprint. I mean, we look back at what the pandemic brought in 2020. Oh boy, the world can change really quickly. You see, there's a saying, and he says, you can be surprised just once. And after that, you are simply unprepared. I'm gonna repeat that. You can claim to be surprised once. Oh, the pandemic happened, oh, life went crazy for everybody. And then look at the politics of today. How clear and certain are we today? So we can be surprised one time. And then after that, we're simply unprepared. So surprise is not what we're looking for. Because in order to avoid being surprised, the prize is to make sure we're prepared. That is why we're here today. These organizations, these passionate people have put us in this room so that you are not going to be surprised with what the future holds. How do we do that? If you plan to fail, then fail to plan. Today, we are here so that we can help you adjust, prepare, plan, write down. You know, they say a blunt pencil is 10 times better than a sharp memory. So if you have a plan and you didn't write it down, you don't quite have a plan. You just have some stuff in your head. Until that plan goes on paper, and then you can look at it, you can work it, you can adjust it. That's what we're here for today. And we believe in the youth of this community so that surprise will not catch us as we move forward. I grew up in a very small town in Nigeria. And my father used to often take us on the weekends. And he would drop us off on a farm. Now, he didn't even know this farmer. It wasn't like a friend's farm. He just dropped us off for the weekend, like, take these children and make them work. And by the way, don't pay them. At the end of the work, we probably get like a bottle of water, maybe a corn on the cob. You know, you sit down, eat, you're feeling really bad for yourself. Your friends were playing all weekend. You were on the farm, sweating, it's 102 degrees. You feel terrible. And my father would pick us up and ask us, how was your day? Good. And you know, you can see the looks like, you know, we're supposed to go swimming, we're supposed to go to a party. No, you're gonna be on the farm. You're gonna work on the farm for 6, 8 hours sometimes. And what I remember most clearly is he used to famously look at us and ask us, if you don't stay in school, this is what you will do for the rest of your life. Like, that was the whole lesson, by the way. If you don't stay in school, this hard work that you just finished doing this whole weekend, that's what you're going to do for the rest of your life. Well, now I ended up as a farmer, so I don't know if I failed or succeeded. But there's doors of opportunity that continue to evolve in this time. What I would like to do is to break down each of those 3 components. My assignment is to break down the 3 components. The first one is a deep belief in your worth, in your value. And the word that he used was somebodyness. Somebodyness. What does it mean to have a feeling of somebodyness? Well, I'm happy you asked. Today, I'd like to present to you a theory. Dr. King had 20 plus minutes in that school. He had a massive show that he went to this town for. He made a quick detour, and if you watch the full speech, he apologized for having a short speech. But like I said at the beginning, we remember the Gettysburg Address not for the length of Edward Everett's address, but the short and the brevity of Abraham Lincoln's address. His address was very short, but very pointed. But I have a theory. And my theory is that Dr. King's address on that day dealt with the architecture of your blueprint. What does that mean? Well, I'm happy you asked again. The architecture of your blueprint is above the ground. The engineering of the blueprint is below the ground. And so my theory is he gave you a beautiful blueprint for a good and a proper and a solid building. But see, I'm on the farm currently and I'm undergoing an engineering project. I'm trying to put a barn on my farm. It's 11,000 square feet. It's this big and that big and all that. And I went to an architect and they drew it for me. And I was really excited to get this building in the ground and get things going. And I've been at the town of Goshen for the last 12 months. Just with the permits. With the engineering. Just the engineering. We haven't gotten to the architecture part yet. Frustrating. So I posed this theory that the architecture is what he was dealing with. And today I would like to deal with the engineering aspect of the blueprint. And I'll tell you what the difference is. You go to an architect draws the house for you. You want 4 bedrooms, you want 2 bathrooms, he puts it together for you, you look at the picture, it looks wonderful, great, excellent. That's what we've drawn here. However, I'm here to pose to you a theory that the foundation, the engineering, is the most important part. And I'll tell you why. The feeling of somebodyness that we are talking about begins with 3 master keys. Everybody said 3. 3 master keys without which you cannot have the feeling of somebodyness. So I can tell you now, value yourself. I'm black and I'm proud. I'm Spanish and I'm proud. Is based off what? Without these 3 master keys, you cannot have the feeling of somebodyness. The first of these 3 master keys, I take from one of Dr. King's saying. He said that he had a dream where men and women were not judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their what? Character. I dare to say today that without character, you cannot have a feeling of somebodyness. You see, character is what walks back from the grave. You cannot bury character. Your character is the only thing that will outlive you, good or bad. Your character, ladies and gentlemen, is the foundation for the feeling of somebodyness. If you have no character, you walk around, you say, I'm somebody. Okay. Character is who you are when nobody else is watching. Character is like an iceberg. You see, we see an iceberg on the water and it's floating, magnificent. But what we forget is that iceberg, we only see 15% of an iceberg on the surface. 85% of an iceberg is submerged below the surface. That is your character. It's who you are when nobody else is watching. You cannot kill character. There's a quote, and I quote. It says, I have to live with myself. And so I have to be fit for myself to know. I don't want to stand in the setting sun and hate myself for the things that I've done. You see, no matter how rich or successful you become, without character, you have nothing. Without character, you have nothing. So the first of the 3 keys to the feeling of somebodyness is character. The next of the 3 keys is vision. The first is character. The next is vision. Vision is that laser beam of foresight that is able to penetrate through any obstacle. Laser beam of foresight. You can see ahead, is what we're doing here today. We can plan ahead. The laser beam of foresight. Another definition for vision is a clear mental image of a preferable future. A clear mental image of a preferable future. You see, without character, you can't have the feeling of somebodyness. Without vision, you cannot have the feeling of somebodyness. The best definition of vision that I heard is one that comes from the most powerful book in the world. I personally believe the Bible is the most powerful book in the world. And his description of vision is a grim one. It says, without vision, the people perish. Without vision, you're already dead. You're just walking dead because you lack vision. If you are already dead and you're walking around with a feeling of somebody, you have no vision. You have no character. How can you have a feeling of somebodyness? It's impossible. The foundation to the feeling of somebodyness starts with character. Then it's layered with vision. The third key to somebodyness, the third of the master keys that opens somebodyness, is habits. Habits good, habits bad. You see, they say it's your thoughts, your head process. Your thoughts become your words. Your words become your deeds. Your deeds become your action. Your actions determine your habits. It's your habits that determine your future, ladies and gentlemen. It's not your feeling of somebodyness that determines your future. It's not your determination to achieve excellence that determines your future. It's the habits that you build today. You sleep in late. You go to bed late. You eat garbage food. So your body takes its toll. There's no exercise. You're on social media all day. And you're not reading any books. The habits that we build from here and from now, today, are the ones that you're going to take into the future with you. So if you are going to have a clear mental image of a preferable future, you will not be able to do it or execute to the highest levels, or you will short circuit your brain because you're busy smoking too much weed. Those are the things that we struggle with today. So from your health to your mind, to what you put in, to what you put out, those are your habits. You see, there's a saying that says, the chains of habits. They're too light to be felt. The chains are too light to be felt, so they become too heavy to be broken. They start small until they become too heavy to be broken. 3 master keys: character, vision, and habits. There's a saying in my culture that says, "Irini sini sini lojo." What does that mean? It means that the way you present yourself to the world is the way the world is going to take you. Oprah said it best. He said, you give people the permission on the way they treat you. Think about that. You give people permission. So the way the world is going to accept you or not accept you is based on what you do from here on out. What plan do you have for your preferable future? What laser beam of foresight have you set? What are we doing here today is literally to give you the tools to map out what type of future you wish to have for yourself. That is what I believe the engineering of the heart of the message of somebodyness means. The next thing that we're going to deal with today is a determination to achieve excellence. A determination to achieve excellence. Now, when we spoke about the doors of opportunity, you know, those doors, when you look at the word doors of opportunity, opportunity is actually a Greek word. And it comes from the Latin base. And it's two words together, ob and portu. Opportunity, ob and portu. When you put those words together, it actually means back in the days when the ships were coming to the port. And the tide had to be just right. Because if the tide was too low, the ship couldn't come in, it would get stuck. If the tide was too high, it was too rocky. I'm here to tell you today that those who have the most opportunities are not those who are waiting for the opportunities, but those who make the opportunities happen. So we're not here to be reactive. We are proactive so we can prepare you for the future. That's what opportunity means. So the doors of opportunity are going to be open and closed to those who are prepared. And that is what the second key is about. A determination to achieve excellence. Another way I saw it is the three keys. The first key is about you. You see, somebodyness is about you, but it has to do with your community. The next one has got to do with you, your determination to achieve excellence. It's got nothing to do with the community. It's got to do with you and your drive or lack thereof. And then the third one is the commitment to the eternal principles has to do with you with a higher power. So the first one is you and your community. The next one is you with your individual drive to succeed and achieve something for yourself. And the final one has got nothing to do with you, but with you and eternal principles, higher power. And so therefore, we come to the second part of this. And the determination to achieve excellence. He used one of my favorite writer poets, Ralph Waldo Emerson. And Ralph Waldo Emerson famously said, if a man can write a better book, if a man can preach a better sermon, if a man can build a better mousetrap than his neighbor, even if he builds his house in the woods, the world will make a beaten path to that man's door or that woman's door. If a man can write a better book or preach a better sermon or build a better mousetrap, the world will make a path to that man's door. You see, back in the days, being a farmer was not elegant, right? Being a barber was not elegant. And that's why my father would say things like, if you don't stay in school. And now the world changed a little bit. And what does that mean? The doors of opportunity. These cultural beliefs, like I'm African, and I know much of Asia has similar beliefs. Back in the days, if you were not a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer, you were a failure. Like you messed up your life. If you didn't fit into any of those three boxes, because in our culture and our tradition, doctors were the standard, right? And engineers and lawyers and everybody else was just a failure. But those doors have changed. I have two friends, they're barbers. And they are millionaires today. Now, it's good to stay in school. It's important to stay in school. However, there's more doors than just being a doctor, a lawyer, or a barber. You see, Dr. King used a beautiful reference. And I thank my parents for the kind of upbringing that we had, because they never forced us to be anything. They never said, you have to be this or you have to do that. They just said, you have to be the best at whatever you do, period. And so, Dr. King used a very powerful reference of a street sweeper. And he said, in life sometimes, if your fate was such that you were a street sweeper, he said, sweep streets like Michelangelo painted pictures. Have you ever seen the top of the Sistine Chapel? You should Google it. He said, sweep streets like Beethoven composed music. Have you ever listened to those orchestras? He said, sweep streets like Leontine Price sang before the Metropolitan Opera. He said, sweep streets like Shakespeare composed poetry. He said, sweep streets so well that the hosts of heaven come out and say, here lived a street sweeper who did their job well. You see, excellence is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. And that is what we're here for, to prepare you for the opportunities that you are going to meet in the future. However, you have to have an innate desire to succeed. You have to have a clear mental picture of a preferable future for yourself. You must have the laser beam of foresight that is able to look forward. And it starts here and it starts now. A determination to achieve excellence. There is two things that you get every day. You get a chance and you get a choice. A chance to be excellent and a choice to be excellent. And I'm going to use another standard that Dr. King used. He said, do your job so well that the living, the dead, and the unborn couldn't do it any better. The living, the dead, and the unborn. When I think about that challenge, the living, the dead, and the unborn could not do what I'm supposed to do any better. And I think about the standard that he used. Dr. King himself, I know nobody that was a better speaker, living, dead, and unborn. We can look back now and say, I've heard a lot of speakers, but I have not heard a speaker that could put such a short period of time to use, and every word, you can remix it 500,000 times. He set the standard. So I'm going to give you another standard today that I want you to think about. And the standard is such that it says, when others are sitting, you should be standing. When others are standing, you should be standing out. When others are standing out, you must be outstanding. I want you to think about that. When others are sitting, you must be standing. When others are standing, you must be standing out. When others are just standing out, it's time to be outstanding. You see, your determination to achieve excellence starts from here, it starts from now. The last thing I want to touch on when it comes to determination is, we live in Sullivan County. A lot of statistics don't work for Sullivan County. But there's a saying that says, tough times create strong men and women. Tough times. Sullivan County is tough times. But what tough times do is it creates strong men and women. And then strong men and women create what? Good times. Good times create weak men and women. Weak men and women create tough times. I'm going to start that again. Tough times create strong men and women. Strong men and women then go out and create good times for their children, right? And then the good times, unfortunately, creates weak men and women. And then weak men and women then go around and produce more tough times. It's a cycle. And so if we are having tough times here, I'd like to let you know it's a beautiful thing. Because your job is to take those tough times and turn it around. To create what? Good times. She was listening. I like that. It's important. Sullivan County is going through that time right now. And so I'm going to bring it together in this third one. The commitment to the eternal principles of beauty, of love, of justice. And I've added mercy to that. About 4 months ago, a friend of mine who had all those components in 1 and 2, he wrote algorithms, and he wrote an algorithm for the Department of Defense. This is a real story. I grew up with this boy, Waldo. And he wrote an algorithm that was used in their flight simulations. And he was awarded a contract for $140 million. 6 days later, he never woke up. He was 42 years old, married, father of 3 babies. Oh, he had the feeling of somebody else. Oh, he had a determination to achieve excellence. What went wrong? We watched today in Sullivan County, the average poverty rate in America is 12.3. Sullivan County is at 15.2. Where is the love? We are watching currently as Russia rolls its war engine into Ukraine. I don't care if you live under a rock. You can relate to what I'm talking about. Russia rolls its war engine into Ukraine and blows it up. Where is the justice? When we look at this cold, dark world of ours, and we try to make sense and make meaning and put some perspective in place, how do we deal with such a dark, cold world in this day and in this age? I'm here to propose that when Dr. King was speaking about the eternal, the commitment to the eternal, what it meant was taking responsibility for making our lives better. And I propose 3 theories in this. The first is, do you have a spiritual understanding of what's going on? Do you have a social responsibility or lack thereof? And finally, are you politically aware of what's going on? We have a responsibility in this day and in this age to understand what the commitment to the eternal principles of love, of beauty, of justice, and of mercy. How are you doing when it comes to those things? I'm going to ask you a question from a saying that comes from Henry Frederick. And Henry Frederick said, a man and woman that have no inner life is a slave to their surroundings. If you have no inner life that can help you make sense and reconcile this together, then you are just going to be moved around with every wind of doctrine. And so, 4 questions that I believe each of us must fundamentally be able to answer in this day, age, and time. Number 1, who am I? Number 2, where am I from? Number 3, what is my purpose? And finally, number 4, what is my destination? Who am I? Where am I from? What is my destination? And what is my purpose? And I will close with the answering of these questions. I'm going to answer the questions with my understanding. I believe that it's at the cross of Christ that my ashes were traded for his beauty. I believe that it's because of the love that he has for me personally that he died for me. I believe that justice will never be served on this side of the earth. And if you're looking for justice and peace on this side of the earth, then good luck to you. It's important to know what you stand on and what you're standing for. Whether you're Christian, Muslim, Buddhist, I don't care what you believe. But you better believe in something in this day and age. So I will close with answering the questions myself. My name is Damola Akinyemi. I am from the Father of lights, from the King of kings and the Lord of lords, the eternal Lord of glory, the everlasting. I believe that when I die, I will go back to the light that I came from. My purpose is standing here before you today and sharing this message about your blueprint. If today was the last day that I lived, or you lived, because no man knows the day or the time or the hour, but each one of us will have to give account of their lives. And so, I want to implore you to ask fundamental questions. Who am I? Where am I from? Where is my destination and what is my purpose? The spiritual is entangled with the physical life that we live in. I want to encourage you to continue to strive forward, not only to have the foundation of the feeling of somebodyness that you've built with the three master keys, character, vision, and habits, to have a determination to achieve excellence, and to have a commitment to the eternal principles of love, of beauty, of justice, and of mercy. And that you will use this time not only to think of your blueprint, but put it down. For it isn't by size that you win or you fail. Be the best at whatever you are. For it isn't by size that you win or fail.
Be the best at whatever you are.
It isn't by size that you win or you fail.
Be the best at whatever you are.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for giving me the time and the air. My name is Waldo.
Get on your feet. Let's give a round of applause to the amazing Damola Akinyemi. Every time I meet this man, I'm inspired. It's just incredible. We are going to move together upstairs where we have some actually refreshments in the hallway.